everyone and welcome to our video. We are from Group 10 and today we would like to discuss about designing individual lesson.
But before that, let us introduce ourselves first. My name is Nandita Rizky Abadi. My student ID number is 093.
And my name is Bella Aulia Lestari. My student ID number is 085.
Alright, without any further ado, let's get started.
Designing an effective lesson. When we design a lesson, our main goal is to create instruction that truly helps students learn. A well-planned lesson can be delivered by a teacher or through instructional materials, often called an instructional module. Since most subjects require more than just one lesson, it's important to structure them in logical sequence. In this discussion, we will explore how different lesson objectives are connected and how instructional events can be arranged to create effective learning experiences. We will also consider how different types of learning outcomes influence lesson design. By understanding these key elements, we can ensure that every lesson is engaging, well organized, and leads to meaningful learning. Lesson planning and module design. Teachers often choose instructional materials instead of creating them from scratch. In many cases, they plan a series of lessons but don't fully design every single one before the course starts. Instead, they adjust and refine their lessons as they teach, allowing them to respond to students' needs in real time. This flexibility helps improve learning because teachers can modify their approach based on how students react. Teaching large groups can be challenging because it's harder to control the learning process. However, small group or individualized instruction allow for better customization. When students learn at their own pace, they can correct mistakes and focus on areas they need the most help with. Tools like computer-based learning programs or self-tests also support this adaptive learning process. Individualized, self-paced, and adaptive instructional materials. Instructional materials are designed to meet students' needs in different ways, with individualized, self-paced, and adaptive instructional being three common approaches. While they share similarities, each has distinct characteristics. Individualized instruction tailors lessons to each student's needs by assessing prior knowledge and adjusting content accordingly. Self-paced instruction allows students to control their learning speed, ensuring they fully grasp a topic before moving on, which is often used in mastery learning. Adaptive instruction takes this further by using technology or tracking methods that modify content based on student progress, providing the right material at the right time. The way a lesson is delivered also impacts how structured it needs to be. Teacher-led instruction is more flexible as teachers can adjust lessons in real time based on student understanding. On the other hand, self-paced or individualized instruction requires more structured planning since students learn independently without immediate teacher guidelines. Establishing a sequence of objectives. When planning lessons, it's important to follow a logical sequence of objectives to help students build their skills step by step. One way to do this is by using instructional curriculum maps, which visually show how different learning objectives are connected. These maps help teachers organize lessons in a way that makes learning easier for students. For example, if we want students to learn how to subtract whole numbers, we must ensure the first master simpler skill, like basic subtraction facts. The process follows a learning hierarchy where students start with foundational skills and gradually move to more complex ones. This figure illustrates a step-by-step learning hierarchy for teaching subtractions. It shows that students must first master basic subtraction skills before moving on to the more complex subtraction problems, such as borrowing across multiple columns. The hierarchy is structured in levels, starting for the most basic skill at the bottom and progressing upward. The idea is the students need to understand the lower level skills first before they can handle more advanced subtraction problem. How to use this hierarchy in lesson planning? First, teach from the bottom up. Students must understand basic subtraction before moving to the more complex problems. Second, allows flexible pacing. Some students may already know a few steps and can move ahead more faster. Third, use visual aids and practice exercise. Help students understand borrowing with real-world examples. And the last, provide step-by-step guidelines. Ensure students master each level before moving on. Determining a starting point when teaching a new skill, it's important to determine where each student is in their learning journey. Not all students start at the same level when learning a new skill. Some may already know certain prerequisite skills, while others need more supports. Teacher must identify each student's starting point and adjust lesson accordingly. This can be done through individualized instruction where students work at their own pace, or by group instruction with extra activities for those who need more practice. Sometimes a quick review of earlier skills is helpful because introducing new content. Specifying a sequence of lessons. When designing a sequence of lessons, teacher must decide how much content to include in each lesson and how to arrange lesson in a logical order. The learning hierarchy helps ensure students master prerequisite skills before advancing to more complex ones. Some lessons focus on one specific skill, while others combine related skills. Maintaining prerequisite relationship is essential, but teachers can adjust the sequence based on student needs. Lesson can also integrate different learning domains or be structured around real-world themes to enhance engagement. The goal is to create a structured yet flexible plan that supports effective learning and keeps students engaged. Achievement of skills in sequence. When teaching a sequence of skills, students must fully master each prerequisite skill before moving on to more complex ones. For example, before learning double borrowing and subtraction, they must first be confident in basic borrowing skills. Mastery is crucial when teaching intellectual skills. If students don't fully understand earlier steps, they may struggle, feel frustrated, or even give up. That's why teachers should guide the sequence of learning rather than letting students choose their own path. A well-structured lesson plan ensures students build confidence and progress efficiently. Proficiency for diagnosis and relearning. When students struggle with a new skill, it's often because they haven't fully mastered earlier prerequisite skills. Lesson planning should include diagnosis learning difficulties by checking if students can recall previous skills. If a student cannot recall a prerequisite skill, they should go through a relearning process before moving forward. This is called a relearning loop, where students get extra practice and another chance to master the required skills before continuing. Assessment and review should be part of every lesson to ensure students are truly ready for the next step. When teaching a new cognitive strategy, students either modify their existing approach or completely replace it with a more effective one. The best way to teach these strategies is through consistent practice over time. One example of a cognitive strategy is survey, question, read, recite, and review, which helps students improve their reading comprehension. Over time, as students practice and apply the strategy, they become more automatic and efficient in using it. Teacher can check if a student has fully adapted the strategy by observing their improved accuracy and faster performance. Planning a sequence for verbal information learning. When planning a sequence for learning verbal information, it is crucial to provide a meaningful content. This helps students connect new knowledge with what they already know. The way we organize information depends on the type of content being learned. When learning names or labels, students must associate new names with familiar concepts. 2. Learning isolated facts. Facts should be linked to relevant background knowledge. And then the last, learning logically organized passages. The information should be presented in a structured way that helps students understand and retain it better. Names or labels. Learning names or labels becomes easier when linked to familiar concepts through different encoding techniques. Simple association connects a new word to a familiar one, like ladam to dime for lady. Sentence-based association use phrases to aid memory, such as the start border is always right. To remember, start board means right. Visual imagery link name to mental picture, like imagining a crow for crow. Mnemonic techniques, including Deiki word method, enhance recall rather than using a fixed system. Students should develop their own encoding method for better memory retention. Individual facts. When learning individual facts like historical dates or science facts, students encode these facts by connecting them to larger, meaningful structures. There are two main ways to help students remember facts more effectively. First, using organizer. Before introducing facts, give students an overview. For example, before learning about different cars, explain the main categories: body style, engine, frame, and transmission. This helps them see the bigger picture before diving into detail. Second, using question and statement statements. Asking students questions related to the facts before they learn them can help with the recall. For example, if learning about history, ask a question about key people first. If learning about important dates, ask about significant time periods beforehand. Both techniques help anchor new facts into what students already know, making recall easier. Organized information. When students learn organized information, like the steps in a government process or scientific principles, they store in their memory using an internal structure called a schema. A schema is a mental framework that helps organize and connect a new information to what students already know. For example, if students already know about Zen Buddhism, learning about Buddhism is easier because they can relate the new information to what they already understand. Planning a sequence for motor skill learning. When learning motor skills, some movements can be learned as a whole, like throwing a dart, while complex skills, like swimming, need to be broken down into smaller steps. Before mastering each part, students should first understand the full sequence of movements, called the executive subroutine. For example, in shot putting, students must learn the step approaching the line, shifting weight, bending the arms, and throwing before perfecting each movement. Some skills, like aiming and target shooting, must be taught first because they are essential for success. A good lesson plan should balance teaching individual movements and the full sequence. Planning a sequence for attitude learning. Learning or changing an attitude depends on what a student already knows. For example, to develop a positive attitude toward reading poetry, a student must first understand poetry and its meaning. Similarly, a positive attitude toward scientific methods comes from learning how to use them. An instructional sequence for attitude learning usually starts with teaching intellectual skills and relevant information. Then, students are introduced to experiences that shape their attitudes. Sometimes human modeling is used, where a respected person influences attitudes if students don't already respect the model. They first need to learn about their achievements to build trust. Lesson. When designing lessons, different learning objectives require different teaching strategies. 1. Intellectual skills. Lessons should start by recalling what students already know from previous lessons. Then, new skills are introduced with clear explanations, examples, and practice opportunities. 2. Cognitive strategies. These lessons help students develop thinking skills like problem solving and remembering information effectively. They include repeated practice over time. And then the last, verbal information, attitudes, and motor skills. Teaching strategies vary. Verbal information, for example, learning facts, need structure, explanation, and connection to prior knowledge. Attitudes, for example, positive mindset, influenced by role models and personal experiences. And then the last, motor skills, for example, playing a sport, require step-by-step practice and feedback. When planning a lesson, a teacher must start by defining clear objectives. Some lessons focus on single objective, while others might have multiple related goals. These objectives should build on what students already know and prepare them for future learning. Instructional events play a crucial role in guiding students through the lesson. These events represent different stages of learning, such as recalling prior knowledge, presenting new material, providing guidelines, and encouraging practice. However, they don't always need to follow a strict order or order included in every lesson. Some lessons might focus entirely on motivation, while others might require more time to break down complex topics into smaller parts. Flexibility is important when designing a lesson. The teacher must consider students' abilities, background knowledge, and the complexity of the lesson objective.
Choosing media materials and activities. At this step in instructional design, the differences may be not between designing teacher-led and mediated instruction. In teacher-led instruction, teachers can adjust and fill in gaps as needed. In mediated instruction, like online modules or videos, everything must be carefully planned in advance. For example, if a teacher wants to teach genetics, they might use a funny animal video to grab student attention. If they can't find one, they come up with another way. In mediated instruction, designers must plan every step and either find existing materials or create new ones to keep students engaged. Every lesson has a purpose, and the way we plan depends on what we want students to learn. Let's explore 5 different types of lesson plan based on learning outcomes. First is lesson plan for a defined concept. When teaching a concept, we need to define it clearly. For example, if we are teaching students about animal classification, students will be able to define and classify animals into 3 categories, such as mammals, reptiles, and birds. We should start by showing them pictures of different animals. Then, we explain the characteristic of each group and let students practice by sorting animals into the correct categories. Second, lesson plan for teaching a rule. When teaching a rule like subject-verb agreement in English, first we introduce a simple rule like singular subject take singular verb and plural subject take plural verbs. Student will apply the rule of subject-verb agreement correctly in sentences. Then we provide exercise where students identify and correct mistakes. This helps reinforce the rule through practice. Third is lesson plan for problem-solving skill. Problem-solving skills require critical thinking. Students will use problem-solving strategies to solve real-life problems. For example, in math, we can give real-life problems like this one. If you buy 3 apples for $2 each, how much do you spend? We teach students strategies to break down the problems and solve them step by step. The fourth one is lesson plan for a verbal information objective. When teaching fact and history, storytelling and visual are key. For example, when teaching the causes of World War II, we can use the timeline and short videos to explain events like the Treaty of Versailles and the rise of dictators. After the lesson, students can summarize or create their own timelines to reinforce their learning. And the last one is lesson plan for an attitude objective. So finally, teaching attitudes requires experience-based learning. To teach respect for cultural differences, we can use storytelling, role-playing, and discussions. By experiencing different perspectives, students learn to respect and appreciate diverse cultures. Now, we will talk about how lesson planning can include multiple learning objectives to create a well-rounded learning experience. In most lessons, students are not just learning one thing, they are engaging with multiple objectives. This is what Gardner and Merrill call an enterprise, where students integrate different types of learning, such as knowledge, skills, and attitude are the 3 key components of learning. They work together to help students gain a deeper understanding and apply what they learn in meaningful ways. To effectively plan for multiple objectives, teachers can use instructional maps. These maps help organize learning goals from different domains and show how they connect to the bigger picture. This is the example in a lesson on sex-linked traits. The teachers or instructional designer must carefully group objectives and select activities that effectively cover multiple learning goals. Instead of teaching each objective separately, activities should be designed to combine and reinforce different objectives within the same lesson. When planning lessons, teachers should structure activities in a logical order. A common strategy is to start with supportive objective before introducing target objective to help students build understanding step by step. This objective focuses on prerequisite knowledge or skills students need before tackling more complex concepts. If students master simpler concepts first, they feel more confident when introduced to more challenging material. And when lessons are sequenced logically, students can connect new information to what they already know, making practice more effective. When designing a lesson, choosing the right media is essential because different format can enhance or hinder how well students understand and retain information. Teachers must carefully select media based on learning objective, student needs, and available resources. By selecting the right media, teachers can enhance learning, engagement, and retention, making lesson more effective and meaningful. Teachers and instructional designers work together to create effective lessons using the best available materials. There are many instructional materials, but teachers need to carefully analyze them to ensure all key learning activities are covered. If some important learning steps are missing, teachers must fill in the gaps with additional activities in their lesson plan. Since most instructional materials today rely on technology like video, apps, digital tools, designers must carefully plan how media is used to support learning. Lesson design is not just a science, it's also an art, requiring creativity and adjustment based on student needs. Testing and revising lessons based on student feedback is key to making them more effective. Next is conclusion. So lesson planning involves two key activities such as sequencing lesson within a course or unit and designing individual lesson with effective learning conditions. Lesson sequencing depends on the type of learning outcome. Intellectual skills follow learning hierarchies for step-by-step understanding, while other outcomes require different sequencing strategies. Effective lesson planning includes setting objectives, selecting instructional events, choosing materials and activities, and defining teachers' and designers' roles. In teacher-led instruction, educators adapt and personalize lessons, whereas mediated instruction requires pre-planned materials to fit a structured lesson format. Despite these differences, the ultimate goals remains the same: to create engaging and effective lessons that enhance student learning. We think that's all for our presentations today.
Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.